Hello, and welcome to Breathing 101 for Singers with an anatomy component. Yay! So, the first thing that needs to be known when it comes to breathing, there are 4 cycles while singing. You have inhalation, you have very brief suspension, you have exhalation, and then recovery. So, for the first step of breathing and singing, inhalation consists of the muscles of the diaphragm and external intercostals, aka the outer rib muscles within the breathing region here. So the diaphragm is spoken of frequently when singing, and there are a lot of misperceptions about it or on it because of that. But truly, what the diaphragm actually is a muscular type of barrier between the lungs and the abdominal contents, the stomach, intestines, and whatnot, that separates these 2 different systems to allow optimal breathing, just even in general. Otherwise, it'd get all super messy, and that's gross. But as you are engaging in the first step of inhalation, the contraction of the diaphragm is right underneath the lungs. And what it does when inhaling, is that it descends when contracted and creates a vacuum within the lungs to promote optimal breathing and air holding. So the diaphragm allows the lungs to extract optimal air in general. And then the external intercostals are the outer rib muscles. So, within the human body, you have muscles on the outside and the inside of your ribs. And when engaging in inhalation, the external intercostals, when being used, avoids what is called clavicular breathing or upper chest breathing, because you don't want your chest to raise when you inhale, but rather the abdomen area to expand out, which creates the optimal body posture for air capacity. So engaging the external intercostals allows the rib cage to expand outward and the abdominal wall to release in that moment to once again have maximum air inhalation capacity filled. The next step in singing is brief suspension. And by engaging in this brief moment of suspension between inhalation and exhalation, allows the muscles that are being engaged in inhalation to transition into the external muscles for exhalation. What we don't typically know, because this is such an autonomic response, is within that brief moment of suspension, what is called the glottis within our breathing naturally relaxes and allows the air to filter through and reach the vocal folds when projecting. So that is the importance of the brief suspension to transition from inhalation to exhalation, which the next third step, exhalation, where within singing, the goal of exhalation is to reach or obtain the right level of breath air pressure to the vocal folds so that you can get the maximum resonance capacity of sorts. Rather, the right amount of waves to hit to make it the optimal sound. When engaging with exhalation, the 2 muscle groups that are being utilized is the internal intercostals, so those internal rib muscles that are now on the inside of the rib cage. And in this process, what you want to do while exhaling is to maintain the abdominal cavity that had been created when inhaling by the external. So the internal is in exhalation, sustaining that cavity space for the abdominal muscles, which is really the true powerhouse of exhalation support. The abdominals, as the internal intercostals are being engaged, raises, or contents move upwards as to engage the air flow passage, and raises the diaphragm to push out the air in the lungs in the most maximal and optimal capacity. Also, fun fact, the diaphragm actually plays no role when controlling the air pressure that we exude. It simply is just the capacity of air that we've held. That is the diaphragm, but it has no control component. Fun fact, it is the abdominals that is the true point of support to push the air out. But you want to engage the internal rib muscles so that it doesn't get too contracted and feeling like you can't breathe or pushed everything out, because that is not the goal. And then the final step, recovery. So truly, this is the only step within breathing that should be the most conscious part. Everything else is rather autonomic and really more felt rather than engaged through thought, if that makes sense. And the point of recovery is to allow the muscles to relax and recover in order to perform and maintain the most efficient method of breathing and engagement of all of the muscles all over again. It's basically just that conscious moment of like muscle potential engagement, and the act of knowingly that you are switching back to the external intercostals and the diaphragm, engaging in breath, waiting to transition, and then engaging in exhalation by the internal rib muscles and the abdominal region. And if we do not take that moment to recover, over time, tension will build throughout the throat region without us even realizing it. That will tense the laryngeal muscles within and around the voice and the areas of resonance that just dampers the voice and builds more physical muscle tension on the vocals, making it harder to obtain the optimal sound, which is why recovery is essential. So in summary, that is how a singer engages in breath. I hope you enjoyed, and bye.